Good afternoon. Thank you for coming out for this wonderful historic occasion. And on behalf of the Grand Rapids Board of Education, I welcome you to the 111 College Demolition celebration. And it is good. So those of you that know me know when I started this, the whole listening tour around the transformation plan, I didn't ask for a lot because I felt like the community, the transformation plan really should belong to members of this community. There were a couple things that I said that I wouldn't budge on. The first one is school uniforms. That was the right thing for us to do. The kids didn't like it, but kids need to wear uniforms to school. And the only other second thing that I had, the only other thing was this building should and must come down. I don't live in Heritage Hills, but it's a beautiful neighborhood. And what I do know is this doesn't belong. And so those were the only two things out of the entire transformation plan that I knew I had to own. We got the uniforms done. And now we are making history because we're getting this done. This is going to go. This is the very first step for me in righting some of the wrongs that we've done. The transformation plan wasn't about just moving forward. It really was about becoming great neighbors and being great partners and undoing some of the things that we did. Uh-oh, I apologize for that, you guys. And this building, we built it in 1972. That's a long time for this building to be here that is totally out of place for this neighborhood. And Jim Payne from the Heritage Neighborhood Association, he's going to share a little more about it. But many of us know, with the history of this building, we know that it wasn't wanted in 1972, 44 years ago. It wasn't the best thing then. We weren't great partners. The ISD, the City of Grand Rapids Public Schools, we were all a part of it. And we didn't listen to the neighbors. People in this neighborhood, they decided that they didn't want this, but we did it anyway. And that's not being good partners. It's not the way to have a community come together. And so Ron Kniff, I'm not sure if Ron is here. Ron is our superintendent of the ISD. He's our new superintendent. And so we own this. Me being your superintendent in Grand Rapids and Ron being the superintendent of the ISD, we need to right the wrong. And so that's where we stand here. 44 years later, it is to bring this building down. Ken Clomperens is going to share more about the future. You will love it, what we're gonna do with this property. But I do wanna thank Chris Larson, Downtown Inc. They're wonderful partners. Grand Rapids Public Schools will be a part of the Grand Rapids Forward Downtown Master Plan, which is huge. We need to be, Grand Rapids Public Schools, our children need to be a part of this growing downtown. What we don't need, though, is buildings like this. We need to be a part of the neighborhood. We need to make sure that we fit, that we do the right thing, and that we're good partners. And so I did ask if we could blow this up, you guys. You know, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I see in Vegas how they blow up buildings there. Ken would not allow me to do that. The City of Grand Rapids wouldn't allow me. And then our insurance company said no. But there is a way for us to do this. So we are going to come together. I don't even have anything that is going to be wonderful and fun to blow the building up, you guys. So we have to do it the right way. We have to listen to people. But I am so pleased. I am so pleased to be a part of this and the transformation of the Grand Rapids Public Schools. And by doing that, not only transforming the district and what we're doing in education for kids, but transforming really how we partner with people in this community. So I'm going to apologize for our 44-year mistake, and I'm going to say moving forward, the Grand Rapids Public Schools will be better partners with neighborhoods around the city, not just here, but neighborhoods around the city. And I'm going to introduce Jim. You are up next. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, never thought I'd see this day. On behalf, I think, of Heritage Hill residents, both near and far, I just want to say one collective, oh, happy day. You know, it was just a few years ago that some of the residents locally here were invited to a meeting at Central High School to meet the new superintendent of Grand Rapids Schools. And we all thought, especially those of us who'd been here a while, thought, well, that's kind of refreshing. We've lived here a long time. We've had plenty of superintendents, but this is the first time one has actually come to the neighborhood, invited us to a meeting, and wants to get to know us. We also thought, at least a couple of us anyway, thought, what an opportunity. This might be our Reagan to Gorbachev historical moment where we might be able to stand up and say, Superintendent Neal, with all due respect, tear that building down. But you know what? We weren't even given the chance. She came into that meeting and her very first words were, hello everyone, I'm Superintendent Neal, your new superintendent of Grand Rapids Schools. And if I have anything to say about it, the building on the corner of College and Fountain is coming down. You could have knocked us over with a feather. I turned to my neighbor, Lisa Rios, and she said, wow, she really gets it. And you know why she gets it? She's from here. She's from here, and I don't mean here, Grand Rapids. I mean here. She grew up just blocks from here. So she's seen this neighborhood, and she's seen this neighborhood go from a deteriorating neighborhood in decline from the 60s and 70s to a resurging historic district that's gotten national accreditation and acclaim now for being one of the 10 best neighborhoods in the country, and that's from the American Association of Planners. So we've come a long way. And you just have to walk around this neighborhood and look up at the buildings, and it's easy to go back in time because house after house are so historically perfect and beautiful. And it works really well until you get here. And you look up and go, what happened here? Did it fall out of the sky? I mean, it doesn't even line up with anything. It's just like it landed here or something. Well, time has come. And we are profoundly grateful to Superintendent Neal for what she's done. But some of you might be asking how this got here and why it looks the way it does. Well, it is a building of the 70s. And some of us who came of age in the 70s do remember polyester leisure suits and disco and platform shoes. So, you know, that might explain part of it, but it's actually quite a bit more involved than that. During the 60s, the city embarked on some urban renewal plans that were quite aggressive. And there was one in particular called the College Park Urban Renewal Plan that was coming right through here. It was an expansion of the then Grand Rapids Junior College, and it moved all the way from Lafayette to the College Avenue where we gather today. And a second phase of it would have moved the plan even further past Union. That would have been between Fountain and Lyon. So everything in that perimeter would have been demolished to make way for new development and new schools and new buildings. Well, if it weren't for a few really stalwart, intelligent people in Heritage Hill, some of who are here today, as in former Mayor Logie, Barbara Rolofs and Linda DeYoung, and a host of other Heritage Hill residents that assisted, they stopped the wrecking balls. And it was quite an adventure getting there. They enacted enabling legislation that is unprecedented in this country and is still cited today in the name of historic preservation in order to get this area confirmed on the National Register of Historic Places and a protected historic district. So they stopped the wrecking balls. And that makes it very symbolic that we gather here today to commemorate the demolition of the one building, the only building that slipped in just before this became a protected district. So thank you very much for everything on this. We want to look to the future now. We're very excited about the plans for this campus, and we're absolutely ecstatic about the fact this is going to be the epicenter of the new transformation plan for Grand Rapids Public Schools. So thank you, everyone, and let's look forward to the future and a bright one here at Central.
Good afternoon. My name is Ken Klomparens. I'm Executive Director of Facilities and Operations for GRPS. Wanted to make a couple of acknowledgments. City Commissioner Sunita Lanier is here. County Commissioner Jim Talon is here. And board members Dr. Falb and Jennifer Schottke are here. And we just wanted to make sure they were acknowledged. Some of this gets to be a little personal history. I graduated from Central High School quite a while ago. When I started at Central, these were houses where we're standing. When I graduated, the building was almost done. John told me I have to give the year. That was 1972. So it's been here a long time. I don't remember it going up, but I sure remember the houses that were here beforehand. It's changed the neighborhood drastically, and we all acknowledge architecture. This building just clashes with the rest of the neighborhood. This has kind of been a different project to work on. Usually we build a new building and then tear the old one down after we move in. This one we're just going to tear down. So it's been different. It's been fun. It's been an honor to work on. We've had a lot of collaboration through the superintendent's office, with the Innovation Central and Fountain, Montessori, with the Heritage Hill Neighborhood Group. And what we're doing here is a change that really pleases everybody and really improves the neighborhood. Timeline for the demolition and a few facts about how it'll work. Monday, the fence will go up around the site to protect it, and they'll start tearing down as soon as the fence is up. As much as we wanted to implode the building, we have deferred to more neighborhood compatible methods. And that's hard because if you look over there, those are $1,000 suites we could have sold for an implosion, and they're free today. So we will comply with all city requirements and rules. Pioneer Construction is our construction manager. They'll make sure all that happens. Demolition method is not a wrecking ball. It's a pulverizer. And if you want to come watch outside the fence, it's like a giant player's head that can grab a bunch, it can cut steel, it can rip off chunks of concrete. It does work better because it creates much less dust. That's how they'll take it down. Anything that's salvageable has been taken out. There's a couple other things left to come. And then also to help the neighborhood, there's a method to keep the dust down. And what it'll look like is, if you've ever been to a ski resort, a snowmaker, a kind of a barrel that puts a mist out, well, it's a very similar thing to keep a mist of water to keep the dust down. So that will be done to protect the neighborhood. And if any of the neighbors have issues with the construction, just call the district or call the facilities department listed on our website, and we'll take care of any of your concerns. The first portion, the demolition of the building, should be completed by the end of July. Then we'll move into the second portion. There's two parts of the second portion. One is we're going to separate the parking lots. So the drive and the lot will be restricted to the fountain side for car drop-off and pickup. And then this drive, we are going to build a bus drive that comes in and then exits onto Fountain Street for buses only. And hopefully, we are going to take care of a lot of the traffic congestion on College that happens in the mornings and afternoons. The drive is part of the overall master plan, which you can see here. And feel free to take a look afterwards and ask any questions. That was done by the GR Forward group as part of the city's master plan. We are going to then green the remaining space for now just with lawn. And as we get into future phases of that, the site master plan, which eventually will connect the two buildings, we will do more progressive landscaping that fits the neighborhood as we get to steps where it's appropriate. We didn't want to do too much now and have to wind up ripping it back out. A couple of things we want to acknowledge: Innovation Central's Academy of Design and Construction for making the model. So a few here are going to have some fun. So if Jim and Teresa and Mayor Logie want to start coming forward, they're going to take a whack at the model. And then afterwards, we also have cake that's been decorated like the building, but we do ask everybody to limit themselves to a knife and fork on that one.
Ladies first? Yeah. You count off 3 for us, okay?
Let's get everyone, make sure the cameras are all ready. Everyone good? Hold on. Let Jim get the ball.
I gotta be careful with this.
That's right.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Hang it. You told me, young man, that I could have something to say.
Absolutely.
And since your late father was my predecessor, it's okay. Good afternoon. I've only waited about 60 years for this to happen because while we had organized ourselves, there weren't any real protections for any neighborhood like this anywhere in Michigan. But 60 years later, we've got all kinds of it. And it has saved so many buildings for so many ways. And it was really interesting. I was the general counsel to Heritage Hill Association and did their dirty work if they needed somebody to hold on to something or fight over it, or if we had to lose it to get money back and things like that. I won't bore you with those details, but the outline that I wanted to share with you is somewhat extraordinary. All the deals like this from organizations like school systems and everybody else whose government can do a little quiet secreting, and I'm doing this after 12 years of being the mayor of this city. I watched it in action. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. In this case, they identified 6 to 8 buildings right over in the corner right here of the 2 streets and coming inward toward the high school. And we were upset in the organization. We went and talked to everybody and said, this is not right. This district is important, and if you are going to take houses down, you're going to need to go and get some law to help you do it, and we'll help you if we have to. Well, that meant that they went off and they made a model that looked like a little old house, sort of. And that was to appease the historic people because they thought that would be fine. Well, it was not fine. And so we ended up in Kent County Circuit Court with one little old lady who was about 90 and had been there for most of her life, and she was going to be dislocated and some other things like that. But ultimately, one by one, they kept upping the ante through me back to the school board, upping the ante for these people being dislocated. And it was not an easy thing to do, but it was done. And it was not done on a friendly basis, it was done on an adversarial basis. But inevitably, the one tiger of this group of property owners took almost a blood oath that he was never going to let them have this property, any of it, because he was part of it. And it looked like we were in a stymied. Well, the school district or the school and the other people on that side of it had a very clever maker of a model that looked like a Disneyland little old place. And that's what they said, to try to encourage these property owners to give up their property for a negotiated price and everybody go on about their business. But it didn't work out that way. Joe, his name was, I'm not going to name other names. Joe said when we started, they are never going to have my property. And one by one, the handful of private owners did get a price that they were willing to accept. And then we were down to the last one, Joe. He called me and he said his wife has acquired a terrible disease and he has got to move her. He doesn't have any choice. And that's how the thing got settled. The lady, I think, this is a long time ago without any notes, but I'm pretty sure that he was relieved and she was very relieved. And so was the school system. But they had this beautiful model that they'd made. They tried to integrate this Fadaster. When we got to it, they bought the house from Joe. The next day, their little white gingerbread house disappeared, and the day after that, the house disappeared. And that was the end of that fight, and the school got what it wanted at that time. And we learned some things that continued us, I think, here in Heritage Hill to make it was beyond question that this was not a place where you were going to have to tear property up and do something else. And that had happened in 3 or 4 major standoffs. But once we got on the National Register of Historic Places, and we're one of the largest historic residential buildings in a downtown in the country, and the value to this community is inestimable. So I'm very pleased to be still alive and able to put one foot in front of the other to see this thing finally resolved. Not that there's been an ongoing fight, there wasn't. The game was over, the property changed hands. They took that gingerbread house that they thought would appease the property owners, and they went ahead and built this monster. This is not an accident. This is an after the fact, pardon my third finger, from the 2 systems that got caught up in this thing. And I think somebody said, let's see how ugly we can make this monster for these sons of bitches. And you know, we all felt pretty good. Today, all these years later, and I see some of these folks here who have been part of this struggle for going on 50 years. So thanks for listening and enjoy the new building.